Hello everybody, this is Giga from the Virtual Adria management team, and this video is being recorded to introduce you, let's say, a kind of tutorial regarding VAMSYS pilot platform, as we call it, or pilot center if you want. And as you can see, I have it opened now. So basically, I would like to guide you through all the steps that are required to be done, let's say, before flight. Now, keep in mind that I'll show you the most, let's say, advanced version of it, but it doesn't mean that all of you need to respect that same procedure, or let's say do all of those steps. So, starting from this basic homepage of VAMSYS, as you know, here we have a couple of quick access buttons, starting with our events, basically, which is showing our charters. Your PREPs, this directs you to the list of your PREPs, of your recent flights. Documents, this is all the documentation that we prepared, including type-specific documentation as well as the standard SOPs for our virtual airline, and then the link to support center, which is basically our AOC support center, whatever you want to call it. In the new version of the SOPs, it's probably going to be addressed as AOC, Airline Operation Center. In general, this is basically the Discord and communication platform that we use for quick assistance, help, navigation, whatsoever. And now the main one, which is the crew check-in. So as this video is focused on this, so on the pre-flight and the flight preparation and everything, this is the function that we're going to focus on. So clicking on this button will guide you to the crew area, as we call it. So this is basically the page which leads you step by step, basically, to prepare for your flight. Now, as I said, I'll show you or demonstrate you the most advanced version of it, so utilizing all of these functions basically, which doesn't mean that all of you need to follow this. So some of you may just go, just directly booking out the flight and then flying it simply. So basically 2 steps. While on the other hand, there's quite some pilots now that actually want to stick to the realism as much as possible, and for this reason we spent quite some time to bring this Virtual Adria as close as possible to the realism, not only following its realistic routes that were active once Adria was still established, but also let's say introducing certain improvised utilities, functions, apps, whatever you want to call them, to make it more immersive. So let's go one by one. So first on the top you have the basically the links to the airport flight boards. These are basically the airport schedules, flight boards of individual airport that is showing you, let's say, the daily flights. So if we click for Ljubljana, for example, it will open you the live airport flight board for Ljubljana. So these are the flights that were planned for today. So let's say 18th January, this is the time of this video being recorded. So all the departure flights, all the arrival flights, and charter flights, departures and arrivals. Now somebody might get confused, like why are all these flights shown there, while on the other hand none of these flights, or just some of these flights, were actually flown by our Virtual Adria pilots. So as I said before, this is just to raise immersion, to raise realism, let's say. So this is taking into account all the flights that were per schedules planned for this day for this airport. So now if some of our pilots are actually sticking to these schedules and are actually flying them as per these planned times, some others just don't and just fly randomly, which is also okay. So let's say if you booked flight for Pristina, you would be departing at 10:15 and arriving back. Here we have on the right arrivals, so Pristina, here it is at 14:20. So these are Zulu times, those are not converted to local time, so it is Zulu as you see here. Also the time is shown in Zulu. And that's it. Now these remarks cancelled. So cancelled are the ones that we are currently not operating, which is Kiev and Moscow. Let's say for this day. The delayed ones are the ones that are, let's say, simulating. So this is a random kind of random function in the background. So some of them get delayed sometimes. I'll show you later the connection between this and your booked flight. So let's say if you're flying today, let's say if you decide to fly Frankfurt, in the other app, let's say utility, whatever we call it, you can actually book it. And if you want to fly real-time schedule, so it was planned for 11:25. Now, if you would have a delay of 1 hour due to, I don't know, operational reason, I don't know, or you simply want to fly it later, but still want it to be shown accurately on this flight board, these two things are connected. So if you will choose there the delay of 1 hour, this schedule will actually follow it, and it will be here will be plus 1 hour delay. So this is kind of interactivity, the background connection that is established, and is more making this a little bit even more immersive for those of you who are actually flying per schedules. So going back to this, so these are flight boards. I showed you now the Ljubljana, but all of our bases are placed here. So whichever of the base you click, it will lead you to the respective flight board. It is only for bases, of course, for base airports. Okay, then let's go now finally to the base, let's say, of this tutorial and the main point of it. So the pre-flight routine. So check-in. This is also how this whole page is named. So check-in or crew area, let's say, the kind of briefing room which you with all the utilities you need to go through before the flight. So check-in is the first one. Here, this is, you can use it. I mean, totally voluntarily. You can use it or not. I'll show you. So here on the bottom, this is the template. So basically, to use this, you need to duplicate it and then overwrite your own name. And then from then onwards, this is not, let's say, cross-checked or monitored. This is purely for your own logging. You can use it. You can use some own logbooks if you want. So this is something totally on your discretion. This is, for example, my tab. So as you can see here, these are basically all my flights that I've flown for Adria since since I'm flying for this virtual airline. The latest one being done today, ferry flight from Lodz back to Ljubljana, and the timings. So the this is the check-in and check-out. So the most left is the check-in, the most right is check-out, and this is the flight time. And then based on it, it calculates your ground duty, air duty, and approximate income that you would have. So the only important thing here is that you write your current rank correctly. So it will follow the applicable hourly rate for you. So captain, let's say, was rated back then. This was in 2021 when we established it, 25 euro per hour, and air duty was 30. This I know. I mean, this is all tweakable. We are considering to increase this to make it more realistic. These were the values set back then, and this will sooner or later be tweaked. Then the second application, the second utility, let's say, is the flight selection. It is flight selection, or you can call it even dispatch center as you want. So very important to mention is that this one has nothing to do with actual booking. These are two separated things, meaning that if you let's say select flight here and you book it here, it won't automatically make it VAMSYS booked. So you still need to do a VAMSYS booking, because VAMSYS booking is basically official dispatch center, let's say. So here you will create your flight plan, while here with this one you will only book it so that other pilots can see what you will fly, and for yourself to generate you some let's say fictive virtual flight crew that you will fly. So let's go to it and actually talk about it more when we see it. So that's it, right? The flight and crew planner is basically the official name of this. Maybe it will be changed in the future. For now, it is like this. So you want to fly, let's say, today, or you can let's say the rule here is that all bookings up to 7 days ahead are allowed. But usually it's I mean normally we do it like 1 or 2 days ahead. We don't book things too much in advance, just to avoid this being too filled, because there are only these 20 slots available. Once you will do the booking through this, it will appear here like this. This is an example. So for today, for example, it was Matej Grčar, our copilot, was flying. So the generator generated him the flight, assigned the commander, Ashley Smith. And then here we have the, if he would have any commuter or jump seater here, because in real flights sometimes you get, a safety captain, or you get some commuters or so on. So randomly you can have generated the guy that is on your jump seat in the cockpit with your flight, for example. Then the flight attendants, this is respecting the fleet. So let's say Airbus A320 has 4 of them, Airbus A321 has 5 of them, and so on. And these are all fictive generated names. So just for a bigger immersion, when you go to the flight, to know who your crew is on the day, as you would get in the real life. If you would be executing cargo operations, and I might come back to this later, but still just to mention it at this point, here you would get also generated which type of cargo you would be operating, and if there are any dangerous goods loaded that need to be, like NOTOX, it's called in aviation NOTOC, so notice to captain about the dangerous goods transport. So, as said, this is only applicable when you choose to operate cargo operation. Now going back to this, what you actually do on this page, you enter your name, you enter your pilot rank. So let's do it provisionally. So Žiga Černivet, this is my name and surname. Pilot rank, I'm currently captain, so it's important that you choose the correct rank here, because based on this the rest of the crew will be planned, right? If you're captain, it will generate the co-pilot for you. If you are first officer, it will generate the commander, the captain. So I'm captain. Okay. Training flights. So let's say if you unless you pick anything but no, it will automatically generate you a safety captain. This is the jump seat column. Let's say, as I mentioned before, you would get a jump seater there. So no, this is not training flight. Just to go quickly to the rest of the options. Line checks. So in real operations, pilots need to do the line checks once a year, which means that the safety pilot is back there on the jump seat, and actually not safety pilot, I think it's training captain, and he's monitoring the flight and evaluating you. Not the training captain, the instructor. So this is first option. The second option is get C aerodrome. Let's say if you are doing the first time flight to some category C aerodrome, and we'll come back to this later, what this A, B, and C category means. And then the third, yes, commander course. This is if you're still in phase of line training, and the first flights need to be monitored by safety co-pilot on the jump seat, who eventually takes over, or let's say switches position with you if in case you are not doing good. So this is it. No training flight in our case. Date of the flight. So let's say I want to fly for tomorrow, which is 19th of January. So I'll write 19th 1st 2026. If you enter here date anything but today or future date up to 7 days, it will return an error. So you need to be careful about this. So either today or up to 6 days ahead. Okay, then the base I'm operating from. So this is the system is based that you always book flights from one of the bases. So you cannot start here from the destination like Helsinki. So you would even if you're located at Helsinki, the Helsinki is operated from Ljubljana. So you need to pick that base, like in real operations. So you don't. You always start and return at the base airport in, let's say, most of the airlines. Okay, there are some exceptions, but in our virtual airline we don't do this. So we always return to the base airport. So Ljubljana is my base, number of flights. So these are the sectors, as mentioned before. 2 sectors means that you're flying there and back. So to the destination back. 4 sectors means you're flying to destination and back, and then to another destination and back. These are 4 sectors. So each flight is basically 1 sector. Okay. Then you can pick I'm flying cargo, so these are the cargo operations. I'm flying reposition flight. This is basically just a ferry flight, as I did today from Lodz. And then I'm flying long haul ops. This is something to be applied in the future if we have maybe at the time of watching this video we already have established the long haul operations, so this will be applicable at that point. I'm just flying, let's say, 2 sectors. Now the difference between flying 2 sectors and 4 sectors is that in 2 sectors, in this column, just this one will get filled. In 4 sectors, meaning flying first pair of the flights and then second pair of the flights, also this column would get filled in, right? But typically, very rarely we see pilots flying 4 sectors a day. I mean, this is still virtual aviation, and rarely you would have time like a whole day for flying. But if you do, like, you can always do also the 4 sectors. These, as you see, is called option 1. Option 1 generated by aircraft type, and then you have option 2 generated by destination. So as the title says, in first option you are really generating by the aircraft type. So meaning I'm Airbus captain, I want to fly with Airbus, whatever I get, I don't mind. Okay, so let's say I'm flying if I'm flying the first option, right, it means that I choose with which type I want to fly. So basically what you are rated for. Okay, in virtual aviation you can literally pick whatever you want. I'm flying Airbuses, so I don't mind which Airbus, just anything from the A320 family. You can be more restrictive and say, no, I just want to fly anything that A321 flies that day. Or no, I want anything that A320 flies or A319 flies. So this will make it more restricted. Or you just, as in real world, you would say, okay, I'm A320 pilot, I'm 320 rated, so I don't mind which flight, I just want to fly with A320. Okay, if I select this, I mean that this means that this option 1 is applicable, and it will automatically let's say make those other options unselectable. Now in the opposite case, if I want to fly let's say by option 2, so, and I don't mind the type, I mind the destination, so option 2. So it doesn't matter which aircraft operates. I want to fly to Manchester, let's say, or London or whatsoever. I just mind the destination. In this case, we need to keep the first option like this, so any type, option 2. And then here we actually select the IATA, so the 3-letter code of the airport we want to fly to. Now, very important information at this point to highlight or to outline is that this is always respecting the before mentioned schedules. All right. So there are provisional schedules that we are operating, and if you click this button here, like this, and it will throw you to the actual scheduler. So scheduler per day. So this is for the Sunday. You can see from Ljubljana. So for each base, Ljubljana, Lodz, Paderborn, Pristina, Tirana, the scheduler, the flight scheduler for all the destinations flown on that day is done, right? Per aircraft per aircraft, right? Per registration. So on the left you can see the aircraft type and registration, and then on the right here in the table you can see the flights. For example, tomorrow we said, so we want to check tomorrow's schedules because we're flying tomorrow, 19th January. So here in this field you can write again the date up to 6 days ahead, and it will call the schedule for the day. Okay, so for tomorrow we can see, let's say, the first Victor Alpha Echo registration, Airbus A320 is flying, for example, Gatwick. It's coming back, has a little bit pause there. Not so much actually, returning at 11:40, and then on 12:30 is already having next flight to Keflavik. So Gatwick and Keflavik. CRJ 900 Victor Alpha Delta, for example, is flying Brussels, returning back to Ljubljana, flying Manchester, returning back to Ljubljana, and then Istanbul in the evening, and so on. So you can see the whole schedule here. So now returning back to this one, if you selected here any type, option 2, choose by destination, and if you want to fly nothing else but, let's say, Manchester, as we said before, if you write IATA code Manchester, it is only flown by CRJ 900 tomorrow. Okay, so in this case you don't mind the type, you just want to fly Manchester, you can only fly it CRJ 900. Okay, now in certain cases, let's say, now in this case is a good example when this is not when what I'm going to tell you now is not doable, is not feasible. But in certain cases, let's say here you can see an example, Lodz. We have more aircraft than routes on the day. For example, it means that 3 aircraft are planned to be free of flying on the day. So Airbus A320, Victor Alpha Bravo, CRJ 900, Alpha Alpha Lima, and CRJ 900, Alpha Alpha Oscar. These three are basically free of flying tomorrow. So if I was planning flight from Roche, and I would be planning, I don't know, destination Amsterdam, originally the only option of the aircraft is CRJ 700 Victor Alpha India. But since we have all these three aircraft free, I could eventually say, okay, yes, I still want to fly Amsterdam, but I don't want to fly with CRJ. I want to fly it with Airbus A320. Can I pick registration Victor Alpha Bravo instead? And it would be feasible. The system would allow this because it is free of flying, right? If it would have some other flights here, it would say a no-go. So system is taking into account all of this. So choosing by destination, as we said, let's test it again. So Manchester, if we do Manchester, okay. And if we say here, so off schedule gate assignment, this is if you want that it assigns just some special special gate, let's say non per schedule, but some different gate on the airport, so departure and arrival gate. But if you keep no, it will just throw you the default planned gate. So both of options are okay. Typically you would select no here, so just no. Generate flights only after specific Zulu time. This is, in this case, is a no-go because Manchester is flying on specific time. But if you would go here for option 1, so if you would go option 2, option 1, and you wouldn't mind the destination, you would just say, okay, I can only fly tomorrow after 6 a.m. or let's say after 2 p.m. because in the morning I have school or job or whatsoever. You can do it, and then it will take into account and will pick you one of the flights that is after a certain time. So going now back to this Manchester, in this case we will pick here anytime because Manchester is only flown at certain time. This is what I was mentioning before, so in this case we can choose here for override aircraft and registration to be flown. There is no other option than choosing no fly as per schedules. If we would have some aircraft in excess for tomorrow for Ljubljana, which we don't have, as you see, there is no other aircraft available. We don't have this option. Sorry, we don't have this option, so we can only select no. Flying with specific co-pilot, here you would typically go no. But if you're sharing cockpit with somebody, let's say flying with your friend, you can always select here. In my case, it would be first officer. You write the name here, let's test it out, Boris Novak, for example, which just means that the system would assign me this name as a co-pilot, right? Now, since I don't mind this, I will disregard this and I will select no here. So if I now click Run Planner here, it will generate me this flight. Okay, so as you see, date of flight is tomorrow, operating from Ljubljana base, gate will be assigned tomorrow on the date of the flight, so we cannot see it before as in real time, in real life. Sectors to be flown, first and second is Ljubljana to Manchester and back, and third and fourth we selected only 2 sectors, so there is nothing here. And this is our crew, Žiga Črnjevec, Jean Gregorčić, jump seat is nobody. And since this is being flown by CRJ 900, which you can see here by the way, so it is always the first information is registration and the type of the aircraft. It only has 2 flight attendants. Now the options that are available here. The first is run the planner, which was done now. Quick clear all fields. Okay, I don't agree with anything. Clear everything. Not happy. Rerun the planner. So for example, I want different crew. I want different names generated. In case I would be selecting here a random destination, this by clicking rerun would pick me another destination and so on. So this simply reruns the script in the background and makes a new new data for you here. And then click to confirm. Basically, this is the last option, and if you agree with everything, you just click to confirm, and it will enter your entry here, so everybody will be able to see your flight. Now, for the sake of showing you also the second option, I'll go back here and I will now choose, I'll do like this, so I will delete this Manchester from here and we will select here any type option 2. That's the second one. So I just want to fly Airbus A320. Okay, Airbus A320. And now let's say actually tomorrow I'm working till 2 p.m. so I just want flights after 2 p.m. So I'm restricting it like here, and then override aircraft, no, I'll still fly A320 because it is okay. Flying with specific co-pilot, we said before what this means, I will still keep no here. Now run planner, this will give me a random flight that is operated by Airbus A320 tomorrow after 2 p.m. and this was generated, as you see. It shows for me Ljubljana, Frankfurt, Ljubljana after 2 p.m. This is Zulu, so it is at 3:55 basically. Afternoon Frankfurt flight. If I'm okay with this, I will click here confirm, and just to test it, confirm. We'll in a couple of seconds remove it from here and we'll that's it. So that's it. When this becomes gray and the row is appears here in this line, it means that it was booked. So this means tomorrow I have booked flight Airbus A320 Alpha Alpha Tango registration Frankfurt and back. And this is my crew: Žiga Črnivec, Sebastian Videz. This is fictional. Actually, Sebastian is an actual pilot of Virtual Adria. So it is also this is also taking into account the actual names that we are flying, ranked by actual ranks. So provisional information, I would be flying with Sebastian tomorrow. And then here are the flight attendants. So Jasna, Uroš, Nika and Bojan. That's it. Now another additional feature that I wanted to mention before when we were talking about the flight boards, airport flight boards. So let's say if tomorrow I figure out, okay, I'm late from work and I won't make it at 15:55. Let's delay it for 1 hour. So if we do it and we select here 1 hour delay, actually the schedule on that other page, the flight board, so going back here now, and flight board Ljubljana will take it into account. Now this is only showing the daily flight, so it is only showing for today. So for tomorrow I cannot see it yet, but we can test it also for today. So let's assume that, for example, Helsinki flight that was flown today by Matej, one of our pilots, it was flown at 5 Zulu time in the morning. So now let's presume that he didn't wake up at the right time and it was 3 hour delay. So he was flying actually at 8 Zulu. So this will not change your times here. This is still original time, but this is delayed to it. So you need to manually sum it up. So 5 plus 3 means 8 and 7:55 means 10:55. So these are the new timings that you would get. But what this takes into account, or let's say where it connects with the actual flight boards, is that one. Sorry, let's go back. So here, this is that's it. So if we go now to sorry, this was again, let me see, yeah, Helsinki. So Helsinki, if you see, it was actually corrected to 8, so it departed at 8 instead of 5, and it arrived back also later than expected, so at 14:40 instead of 11:40. Okay, so this is taking this delay into account. And if this was before the flight, now here you would have it in orange, delayed plus 3 hours and so on. So this is what I was trying to say before with these flight boards. Okay, that much about the functionality of the flight and crew planner. So now let's get back to this. Check-in was explained, flight selection was explained. So now that you have flight selected in the planner, you can actually book it in the VAMSYS. So here, I won't go with this one in details because this is maybe for another separate tutorial. Here you just then select the flights, so Echo Delta Foxtrot, Frankfurt, and I would book it normally here, dispatch flight and so on. So this is the typical VAMSYS booking, where you book the flight so it appears in your ACARS system, which is Pegasus. Flight plans. So once you have booked it up, you can call it up here, or even easier, you just go here to Flight Center and you would have here View Flight or something like this, and you would click on that View Flight, and it would throw you back to that booked flight. Number 5, e-Techlog. So this is something that you can actually, or you would actually just check when you are on the aircraft. But because this is under the group of aircraft status, we position it at number 5. However, you can check it here, or for better immersion, check it only when you are sitting in the actual aircraft than when you launch the sim session. So I will describe it now, but just for your information, sequentially it should be actually at the very last when you are already boarded on the aircraft. So clicking this would throw you to this e-Techlog, so electronic technical logbook. So how this works: when you're on the aircraft and your ramp agent jumps into the cockpit and says, "Hey, what is your typically he would like to know what is your composition, crew composition, so how many pilots, how many cabin crew members, and what is your fuel information, so he can pass the information to the fueling service." So the only thing you need to do here is type in your registration. So we are flying, let's say tomorrow, but you need to write it correctly. So type it correctly with capital letters and as the registration stands. So Sierra 5 dash Alpha Alpha Tango. Once you enter this, it simulates for you everything. So on the right you have the ramp agent or ground handler, whatever you want to call the guy, his information, and then down in this section is the technical status. So despite this is just called the e-Techlog, so technical oriented, it also gives you the ramp agent data. And this is one additional reason why it's better to use this once you're on the aircraft, because you would not get this information before actually coming to the aircraft and talking to the ground handler. So first focusing on this right side. So message that, this is just the time when this was messaged. Agent's message. So he would say here, "Hi, how's your day? Fuel and composition. When you have the information, give me the fuel and composition." And you would immediately give him. You would check the flight plan. And you would say, "Okay, so today the composition is 2-4, so 2 pilots, 4 flight attendants, and for the fuel data we have this and this amount of tree fuel, this and this amount of taxi fuels. Altogether we would have this and this amount of fuel." So typically they would need to have I mean, some of them in some airports they need separated data, like what is the actual 3 plus alternate plus taxi fuel, or in some you would just say, "Okay, give me this total amount of fuel," and that's satisfactory for them. So it depends on the airport operation. And these are the only two information he gets. And what he returns to you is, okay, is there any CTOT, so calculated takeoff time, so any slots? Okay, luckily we would not have none in this case. So no delays expected. No TOCs. This is something I was talking a little bit before about. So it is notices to captains. What is, let's say, our dangerous goods transport? So, okay, he would say, today we have batteries, IT devices with embedded lithium batteries, with this specification in the forward cargo hold. Plus we have animals in rear cargo hold, cats. And we would say, "Okay, yes, I confirm, thank you for information, sign it off," and no TOC is confirmed. This always needs to be confirmed, accepted by captain. If captain decides to abort this load for some reason, it cannot be loaded. So this needs to be on a captain approval. Well, any wheelchairs or infants, this is the significant passenger information. So how many infants do we have? We have 2 infants in this case and no wheelchairs. If we have wheelchairs, it would also give information which type of wheelchair. So it can be boarded via ramp, or it needs to be via stairs, or what type of wheelchair is. And other boarding specials, currently we don't have anything, but in some other cases it will give you some random things like, yes, okay, expect some, I don't know, sport fans, which would typically operationally mean for you, okay, yeah, you need to be a little bit more alert. And for the messages, let's say from the flight attendants, like regarding them being unpleasant, or being too rude, or being noisy, or being harassing, or so sometimes it is important and relevant information for the flight crew to be advised ahead about certain let's say type of passengers. Sometimes you would be carrying the passengers with let's say security men next to them. Sometimes you would be having, I don't know, drunk passengers. Sometimes you would, even let's say in case of no shows, which is a pretty usual occurrence, so that you would get no shows. Ramp agent will tell you, okay, we're expecting 5 no-shows. They didn't appear at the gate. They didn't check in. It means, but their baggage is loaded. For example, what is your decision? If we unload their baggage, it would mean plus 15 minutes for you on the departure. This kind of operational thing. So something that you would typically get on the normal operation. Okay, that much about the ground handler or the ramp agent. If we go now to the technical status, here you would have the report of your aircraft for the day. So here basically there are let's divide it into two sections. The first is active defects, and the second is minimum equipment list items, so mail items, or let's say CDL items could also be here, and exterior inspection, so the actual locked items plus the defects. So we kind of, even if it is not fully aligned with the real ops with some of other airlines, in our airline we decided to segregate it in this way. So active defects are just minor defects that are typically not drastically influencing or affecting your operation as a pilot. So it would say, okay, cockpit left one window shade is stuck or broken. Okay, I cannot use the sunshade on that left one window, and cockpit left window is stuck or broken, so I cannot open the left window. And then we have on 20 Charlie, so row 20 seat Charlie, oxygen mask door fault, so the oxygen mask door is fault. Okay, this one is a little bit operational, so in the minimum equipment list you would need to check what to do with it. Of course, that passenger cannot be seated on 20 Charlie, which means that he would need to be reseated. Now, what would this mean in real operation? If the aircraft is fully booked and there is no free seats, it means actually that this passenger would not be able to sit there. Now, if there is some jump seat to be seated, okay. If there is not, he simply would need to be deboarded. So this kind of, and this is very similar to the real operations in a way that you need to deal with some unexpected, situations and resolve them quickly to avoid further delays. So as I said, this is all raising an immersion for you at the end. You want to follow it, okay. You don't want to follow it, also good. Then here, as we said, in this second group, we would have the new active failures reported by previous crew or maintenance personnel, meaning that, let's say, you are overtaking aircraft in the morning, first flight in the day, a check by the line maintenance crew was done, and they reported, okay, so air conditioning afterwards, cabin duct overheat. So this is the current mail item. What you would do now, you would need this to be signed off by the maintenance that it is dispatchable. So checking the minimum equipment list, which is a separate separate manual, which determines for each kind of failure what is the amount of required, let's say, operational systems of this type. So let's say 2 installed, 1 required, and so on. What is the dispatchability information? So is this dispatchable, under what conditions it is dispatchable, and what is the repair interval A, B, or C? So if you don't have the mail, maybe you can find some on Google. This is something we cannot share. I'm sure that you can find some of this also online. So anyways, if you have this minimum equipment list, you can use this. If you don't have, you can try to improvise, or you simply don't use this. And then the flight inspection, so the exterior pre-flight inspection is basically the walk around. So in some cases you would get here some messages like, yeah, there is a dent on the slat, additional maintenance consultation tells us that we are dispatchable, or that we need to cancel the flight, for example. Because this is, as in real life, sometimes you would figure out something on the walk around and would say, okay, shit, this is beyond the limitations and we cannot continue. The probability of this is of course low, so you would not get it so frequently here, or sometimes you just get some let's say random items that are still dispatchable. Now the rule with this is following. So if you get anything here, or if something happens on your flight, like if you have on your aircraft model, let's say Phoenix Airbus A320, if you have generated random generated failures engaged and some failure would occur. So in both of the cases, either you get something here, or if something randomly occurs on your flight, your obligation would be to report it here in this row. So let's say Alpha Alpha Tango here. Now I would need to write, so cont aft cab duct overheat. We would say it was dispatchable, for example, dispatchable, which means that maintenance confirmed that it is dispatchable, and that's it, what you need to do. Then what we would do it from here onwards, let's say each day me and other guys from the management would check this list and would say, okay, so this is a newly appeared item, we move it from here to here, and we assign it the date of repairability. So until that date of repairability, this is an actually active mail item, and once it is placed here, it is not anymore shown on this left side, it is shown on this as an existing minimum equipment list item, right? Getting rid of this now. So, and then, so existing currently an alpha tango is none. Existing exterior anomalies, this is for existing exterior anomalies, is also none. So nothing reported from before. And that's it. Then going to the right would give you the CDLs, OEBs, and aircraft configuration summary. So CDLs are the cockpit the configuration deviation list. So this is basically some mechanical deviations on this specific registration, and these are some operating engineering bulletins, so some special system-wise, let's say, procedures, bulletins that tell you what to do in certain cases. For example, in Phoenix, sometimes you would get an ECAM warning, ECAM caution, side-stick calibration error, or emergency overwing exit open. These are the most two typical ones. Now what to do in this case, you have here even we have created the library of OEB CDL items. So if we click on this, we will guide you to that one. So OEB, if we want to now check the, let's say, side-stick calibration error, for example, here it tells you the instructions. So present on Airbus Phoenix all serial numbers, indication on the ECAM you will get flight control, side-stick fault, calibrate null zones, technical description, presumably due to occasionally insufficient voltage from the board for the side sticks to perform at 100%. This is basically copied from the website as they described it. And then OEB procedure, what to do. So if you're on ground, what is your action, or if it happens in the air, what is your action? OEB is basically tells you the procedure, how to react to that certain item if it appears. Okay, so these are CDLs, OEBs, and then we have the final thing, which is aircraft configuration summary. This is something that you need on the before flight briefing. You would brief your co-pilot about all these things. So existing MEL items, existing CDLs, existing OEBs, and what is your aircraft configuration summary. So this is basically the configuration of this aircraft, meaning new retrofitted cabin. This is just a cosmetical thing so that the passenger cabin is in the new retrofitted version. ACE2 retrofit means that it was originally ACE1 configuration of the displays, but no, it was at some point retrofitted to version 2, so LCD displays. The DDRMI and metric alternate instruments as backup instruments. We have DCDU retrofitted, means that it was later installed. DCDU is the unit for CPDLC communication. Analog, digital. This just means type of alternate instruments. Either they are digital or analog. This one has analog standby attitude indicator, for example, and other alternate instruments. It has brake fans installed. It has auto tickets installed. It has the SATCOM, and then it has green hydraulic steering and 1000 feet acceleration altitude. Radio altimeter is working up to 2500 feet, and cabin ready function is installed, plus rudder damping is installed. These are basically the options that Phoenix offers as optional features. So that's it, more or less, regarding the technical log. Okay, so coming back here, technical log, OEB CDL library was already shown here. So basically this is the library of those OEBs and CDL items. Take ops support, this will basically guide you to the Discord channel, so to our support channel, AOC as we called it before, and maintenance center. This is something that you don't typically need to check. This is just provisional. So here basically we're running for all of our fleet the maintenance plans. So when is the next, so you can see, I mean, we can spend a minute or two on this as well, or you can just skip if you're not interested. So here what you can see here is basically for each fleet per type. So A320s, A390s, A321s, then we have CRJs, and then at the end we have McDonnell Douglases, which will, by the way, be soon replaced by new generation type of aircraft. We are still considering this. Then you have all the so on the second column you have registration, which is the exact type of the aircraft, and which is the engine type, what is the seating configuration, and who is the ownership. So as you can see in this column name, serial number, manufacturer serial number, cell call, and livery. So livery identification, which is telling, is it standard Adria, is it some special Adria livery, is it the new Adria livery that we are currently using in Virtual Adria Airways, and so on. Then manufacturer, this is basically taken from the real data. So the aircraft that we owned, the Adria Airways owned, so Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Sierra, Tango, that are original, are actually these are valid data. So as you can see, our oldest aircraft is Alpha Alpha Alpha, reaching now almost 38 years in 26, and so on. So you can see here all so these are real data. Now for these fictional aircraft, Victor Alpha Alpha, Victor Alpha Bravo, Victor Alpha Charlie, actually these are not just some random, I mean these are random serial numbers, but they are actual real serial numbers. So for Victor Alpha Alpha, for example, we decided to pick 7402, and this is the actual real existing serial number that is currently operated probably by some I mean, for sure it is operated by some specific operator, but let's say fictionally, in the world of virtual aviation, we decided to buy it from that customer, and now we are operating it. So if you're going to Google 7402, you will actually find its serial number, and it is the existing Airbus A320 in this exact configuration. So with sharklets, with EIA engines, with 180 passenger configuration, and so on. So we spend some time here. Whatever we bring into the cockpit, into the fleet, is actually based on the real data. So it is not some fictional aircraft. It is the actual serial number of that aircraft is actually in this configuration that we are using. The config summary is the column that we actually called it up back in the e-Techlog. So it reads it from here. So here it tells you also more. Let's say you can also get the information in this column names. So what is any of these sections? So first is passenger cabin, then the second is ACE, then the third is DDRMI or metrics, so what kind of alternate instrument, DCDU installed, digital or non-digital standby instruments, brake fans, ice detection installed or not, TCAS installed or not, SATCOM installed or not, blah blah blah. So all of these let's say options are listed, and then here it is just written, is that option applied, or if it is not there, it's just a dash symbol, which is just sufficient for you and for the flight crew before the flight to know your configuration, or let's say to set it up once you install the livery. But if you install the livery with the latest ones, I think I was talking with our fleet manager Tilen, they should already be respecting these optional features, so you should be good if you install the latest version. And then here on the right you have the maintenance planners, right? So B, C and D planner. Here above this you have also provisional legend, let's say the table that is explaining this, what any of these checks means. So a check is basically a daily or weekly check done by line maintenance, 1 hour in daily, and once each week is a little bit longer one, 8 hour, let's say. What is the scope of their task. And then on B is done by line or base maintenance. It is approximately 7 months. It lasts 3 days. C, as you see, each of them going lower is a bit more complex. So the most complex is D, which is taking 90 days. So it's 3 months. Aircraft is grounded for 3 months, and they are doing the life extensions of certain parts and complex inspection, maintenance inspection tasks. And here you have basically this plan. So for each of our aircraft, it is written when is the next B or next C check or next D check, and when it will be returned for that specific B, C or D check. And when the aircraft, so let's say when we reach this date, this aircraft will actually then be taken out of service, and it will, like here for example, it will be written currently on C check or on B check or D check, and it also will not be planned in the schedules that I was showing you before. So it is all automated in the background, so that table is respecting this table. So if the aircraft is not available for those days, it will not be planned for flying. So this is all connected. This is for unscheduled maintenance. So if, let's say, we do a hard landing, we do an engine bird strike, we do tail strike, whatever non-planned, let's say on condition items for the maintenance are written here. So we can basically, regardless of the planned schedules, we can also in unplanned way we can ground it. So we can say, okay, this aircraft was damaged and it will be returned in some time. For example, this is a good example. Both Airbus A321s are currently, when we are recording this video, they are both grounded, and they'll be returning one on the towards the end of January, and the other one mid of March. For the one reason is the hard landing that was caused upon the auto land at Ljubljana by one of our pilots, and the other one is AOG due to bird strike, where engine was damaged and a little bit of the skin as well. And that's it. Here, remarks. This is some just configuration specific remarks, or maintenance remarks, or configuration remarks. There's nothing currently. And then we have the base where the aircraft is currently operated. So this is something that we are tweaking depending on the needs. Let's say charter flights, the busyness of individual bases. Sometimes we shuffle a bit. Sometimes we put certain CRJs back to Ljubljana or A320s to the other bases. So currently, this is as you see. So these are the green ones are operating in Ljubljana, the yellow one at Lodz, Paderborn blue, this magenta, or how we call it, is Pristina and Tirana. So yeah, this is all let's say tweakable, but it can only be done by the management. So you can see it, but you cannot affect it. When we change it and when we trigger the action, again, all the schedules will respect it, and the aircraft will be relocated, and you will be able to fly from that specific base. Okay, that much about maintenance center. Maybe on the top I didn't mention anything about this, so just quickly, this is purely for our needs, for management. Let's say when we have a certain mail item and we take it from the logbook where you logged it, so I don't know, engine failure in the flight. Here we then simulate, so by entering information here and selecting what is the repairability interval, it returns us when the aircraft will be repaired. So from there we know how much time it will be grounded. So it is all generator randomizer, of course. Going back to this, to the third column, which is the weather and threats. So weather and SIGMETs will throw you to this, let's say, most recommended, from our perspective, most recommended website that tells you everything from Notams to TAFs, from METARs to TAFs to some specific SIGMETs also. Then Notams can also be seen here. So whatever you pick here, it will return you that kind of data, and you enter the ICAO code for that airport that you want to operate. However, this is not something you really need to use. Because this is already, when you're planning the flight through the VAMSYS booking, you already get all the weather information required there, especially if you're using SimBrief as a flight plan generator, which is the officially advised generator from Adria Airways. So, I mean from virtual Adria Airways, of course. So regarding this weather, this really comes useful only when you're trying to check the weather before you are actually booking it, to see which alternates you can pick, for example, because you need to always keep in mind that alternate airport in real world is not used if the specific meteorological conditions are not met. For example, it needs to be under Cat 1 or better, and certain wind limitations and so on. So these are all important in real operation. Now, again, you can take it into account, or you can simply disregard it. Windy, this is just to see your wind profiles. Again, another information that you will already get in the flight plan, but you can check in advance how turbulent your flights will be. Check detailed Notams. Yeah, this will again throw you to the same page as that one. So this is the same page as before. If you want to check Notams separately, but again, those Notams will also be generated by the SimBrief, so maybe you don't need to use it here separately. And then company limitations, this is quite an important one, because this is where we publish any new company limitations. This is company specific, so when we as Virtual Adria restrict on certain, specify certain restrictions regarding operations. For example, back in November, we issued this company Notam that certain aircrafts were grounded due to EASA airworthiness directive. So with this, we are more or less following the real operations. So when something happens in real life with Airbus or with CRJs or with certain airports, I don't know, war zones, restricted zones, volcanic operation limitations, I don't know, airspace closures and so on, we always take it into account and we publish it here. So those are recommended to be, I mean, not recommended, these are actually mandatory to be respected, because unless we specifically write that it is not mandatory, doesn't need to mandatory to be followed, you need to follow it, and we will take an action if you don't follow it. Meaning, if let's say for example, let's see some of the other. Okay, city airspace restriction. This is for departures, arrivals. Same is here for Pristina. But for example, this is Airbus A321 specific. Oh, this one for example. So flights to Israel airspace prohibited. Flights to Israel airspace are temporarily prohibited due to risk management. Tel Aviv flight suspended. Booking not allowed until further notice. Issued on 1st October 24 and valid until removal. This one is still valid, meaning if you'll be picking flight to Tel Aviv, booking flight to Tel Aviv, we will definitely reject that PREP. We'll make you comment that like in a way that this was against our protocols and let's say Notams, and to please follow it furtherly. So and same is here, for example, Ukrainian is also currently restricted, landing too much fuel. So I mean, it is always good to go through this. The expired ones are in gray color, so these don't need to be monitored, but the rest of them need to be at least read first time and then taken into account, and can be always reopened if you forget them. Okay, going to SOPs. So this is something you don't ultimately need to open, but in general this gives you the idea about our operational procedures. So this is like operational manual that you would have on your board in the real let's say aircraft. Operational manual basically tells you the limitations, the procedures that you need to follow. Here it will guide you to the hangar. So once you authorize that access, which you in any case need to do, will guide you to this file. So basically here you go, I think you would see this section. Oh, sorry, you would see this section, files. No, sorry. Yeah, this one. And here you have documents, all virtual Adria documents and manuals. So if you click this one, it will guide you to all the documents we have. So we have standard operation procedure, which is operation manual. We have Adria training document. This is just for training purposes, passenger travel information, and then specific documentation per aircraft. So A320, CRJ, AMD, 737, and A300, all the aircraft that we operate currently. So general documentation, this is the SOPs I'm talking about. If you click here, it will throw you to our drive where we have all of these documents located. And the operational via the virtual Adria SOPs is these documents. So if you open it, you will get the operational manual that is currently active. So the current revision at the time of this recording is A02, and basically here you would in the table of contents you can see all the applicable let's say content of it. It is divided into two sections. First is general operational guidelines, and the second is operating manual, more oriented towards operation of the aircraft, as well as limitations. So this will limitation is currently here, but let's say in the next revision it will be moved to general guidelines, to the first part of the manual. For example, if you would be interested in what is the limitation, let's say for weather operation, you would go to this section. You would see the minimum visibilities, maximum winds per aircraft, per rank of the pilot, and so on. So again, this is something that is advised to be followed, but is not mandatory. Meaning, if there will be a gusting 35 at Manchester at the time of your landing, and you're first officer, if your landing will be okay. If your landing will be hard because of this, it will lead definitely to our comment and action. So this is by saying it is advised to be followed but not restricted to. It is on your discretion at the end, but we still want to operate our airline in some realistic way, so we don't just want everybody to free roam and you know, being non-careful about these things. So yeah, this is it. If we continue airport briefings, these are the port briefings for all the airports we operate. So let's say Manchester, let's find it, Echo Golf Charlie is here. So operating to Manchester, you would typically on the flight before the approach briefing, you would, or upon the approach briefing, you would also check this. So you can reach it from the VAMSYS and you can check for that Manchester, okay, which are the preferred alternatives. This doesn't mean anything. Basically, this is advisory by the company, but you can select whatever you want. That is still logical, taking into account, of course, the fuel and everything. Expected gates and stands. This is which are expected gates and stands for our operation. This is the ground handler that is operated there. So for GSX, if you're using, you can pick it based on this information. Then refueling, so if it is done via ramp agent, so this means that you just tell ramp agent information as we discussed before, or you need to actually go down and on the panel set it up and then monitor it from the outside, being interconnected with the interphone to the pilot, which is in this case, for example, pilot sets on panel plus supervisors on ground. So in Manchester you don't need this, you just tell the ground handler and it is done automatically. External power is available, preconditioned air available at the jetway. Air starter unit is available. What is this and what is this? PCA is preconditioned air. This is basically the supplementary for your air conditioning when your APU is off. External power is alternate for your let's see, is your electrical power generator when your APU is off, and this is for air conditioning. ACU, air starter unit. If your APU is not operative, you can help you out with this to start the engine. If this is not there, then you would need to start first the then if your APU is not working actually and ACU is not available, then you have a problem because you cannot start your engine. So this creates pneumatics in the system, so you can start your engine. Potable water, lavatory servicing, so cleaning and lavatory cleaning and these kind of things, if we have them contracted or not for that specific airport. So for Manchester we have maintenance is available, and other remarks nothing. For the maintenance, basic only versus available, it's the difference. Let's say basic only means that some minor things can be resolved, but if you have some major malfunction there, you would need it would significantly make your life harder, because you would need to contact your maintenance via EOSIDs, so Ljubljana, Adriatechnica, and they would need to assist you daily or even send their crew there. So basic only is really on some smaller airports, while everywhere else we have, let's say, contracted the standard maintenance service. Other remarks, nothing special here. Difficulty category. This is the airport categorization based on its difficulty. So how difficult it is for the flight crew. It can be A, B, or C. A is simple airport, no special restrictions. B is complex airport with certain restrictions, and C is very complex airport, which requires additional training before being flown to. You can read more about this to not lose now time with this and your energy. You can read all of these here, see specific airport briefings here. So if you go to this, let's open it just quickly. Sorry, no, this is wrong. Here, see category restrictions. You need to click this one, and it will direct you to the page which describes you all this that I'm talking about. So A airports, B airports, C airports, and respective limitations, and also definitions of what means experienced first officer, experienced captain or commander, what is commander, what is captain only, and what is authorized captain or commander. So all these definitions of crew relevant limitations that you may find here in this column here are described there. For example, where you see here experienced crew only, unless training, it means that what is experienced crew only. So you can go here, experienced first officer means that he needs to have at least 200 flying hours. Experienced captain commander needs to have at least 200 captaincy flying hours and so on. So everything is described here. If it doesn't have any special restriction, it is just not applicable like here. This column actually tells you the specifics and mostly the reason why it is B. For example, this one being B. Why it is B? Because it is a single runway with high density of operation, steep glide slope, so 3.5. This is the most, let's say, critical, putting it into B from A, because it is a steep approach, meaning more energized approach, meaning excess of the energy, meaning also different, a little bit different flare, different type, let's say, of landing in general. So it is definitely additional threat. Terrain is additional one, so reaching 500 feet elevation in the nearby. Then we have tight turnaround times, weathers, usually some fogs and crosswinds, birds, complex airspace. So all of this is justifying it is category B, and it requires experienced crew. And then the last column here just tells you if we have any specific additional airport briefing charts, or we don't have them. If we don't have, you just refer to the charts only, meaning you refer to your Navigraph or whichever Lido charts you are using, Aerosoft or Navigraph, or any others if you have. But if we have some link here, like here, you can always find you can also find additional supplementary information here. For example, for this airport, let's go to the left. So this is for London Gatwick. We have also separate airport briefing. So now going to this, you would find it here. Echo Golf Kilo Kilo. Echo Golf Kilo Kilo. Where it is? Yeah, here. So you can find it here, and if you open it, it will give you some supplementary, more detailed information about the airport, and that you can, let's say, at least first time operating to it, would be good that you also go through this. Again, all for the sake of being immersive and close to the real operations. Almost to the end, so nose abatement procedures and engine out SIDs. This is the tool we are using for this. So let's say Ljubljana here. If you don't, some airports are in the database, some are not. For example, Rijeka, for example, this is the Croatian airport. If you press enter, nothing will occur. So if there is nothing, it means you need to respect charts. But if there is something, like Ljubljana case, here we have Ljubljana, you need to respect that. Respect for what? Respect for two things. One is engine failure on takeoff, so engine out SID procedure. So what is your procedure if engine fails upon rotation, let's say after V1? Plus, what is your noise abatement procedure? So noise abatement 1 or noise abatement 2. So first, noise abatement is the procedure that you need to apply when you are departing to reduce noise due to environmental protection and so on. So certain cities has these procedures in place, while noise abatement 2 procedure is very standard, with typically 1000 or 1500 feet AGL. Both things occur, thrust reduction plus acceleration. Some of them are noise abatement procedure 1, so instead of 2 here would be 1, which means that these two are different altitudes. Thrust reduction altitude means when you reduce thrust from takeoff power to the climb thrust, while the acceleration altitude is the altitude which you start to accelerate from V2 plus 15 to the actual next target speed, which is either 250 or some other speed if constrained by the SID. So this is noise abatement procedure, and this is the engine out SID that you need to follow departing specific runway. Okay, now that is almost it, and the last thing is checkout, which returns you to the check-in. This is the same page, so basically after the flight you also write your second timing here. So typically when you start you would fill in the first timing, and then at checkout after a flight you would check out with the second timing and also the flight time. That's it. Now, since I described all of this, all of this can be used. Some of them can be skipped. Some of them can be used before the flight. Some of them is better to be used only on flight when on board, like for example the e-Techlog book, where you get the technical information and dispatch the ground handler data, for example, this one specifically. company Notams is also the one. Basically, the orange ones are the ones that are better to be used when you are already on board. So company Notams is, let's say, specific Notams, operational related. Actually, company Notams, to correct myself, is good to be monitored already flight planning, because here you can see if certain airspace is restricted or we cannot operate a certain destination. But these and these, so port briefings and TechLog, should be used more or less when you're already on the board. Port briefing is something that you brief your co-pilot about. Now, yeah, for this one again, if you're planning your operation to some category C airport, you would find it only here that it is category C, so it needs to be flown by captain only, for example, that is trained for that approach. I don't know, Innsbruck, or let's say in Greece, Santorini, for example, Cat C airport, because of the narrow and short runway and so on, or Innsbruck because of the difficult approach due to surrounding terrain. So these are all the limitations that you need to respect, and that we'll monitor in case anything goes wrong, of course. That's it, more or less. It was a bit long tutorial, let's say, a bit complex one. I will also in the YouTube, I'll timestamp it, so you can just jump to the certain section and just check that out. Anyways, I went through literally everything that we are using and that you can also use to make it really very immersive and, let's say, close to real life operation. Yeah, we tend to do this because we want to bring this our virtual Adria to a certain level where it's not just a strolling around type of airline, just let's say let's go and fly online and have some fun, but also we want our pilots, our clients to actually get something out of it, to use it also as a training platform for future eventually becoming real life pilots. It can significantly improve your knowledge, and it can make you more prepared for the real aviation, especially if you decide to go this route where you follow all of these things and try to simulate it in the most immersive and realistic way. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being on board with me, for bearing with me for this what is it, around 1 hour tutorial. I hope that it was interesting for you, or at least that it was useful for you, and that it was explanatory for certain applications and options that we offer. Thank you very much, and see you in the sky. Ciao.